I'm feeling nostalgic for some of my favorite X-Men days in recent history, which of course is the Krakoan Era. If you know me from anywhere else where I was making content before I was doing my own thing, you probably know me from talking about some of these comics because I loved them so much. I still do. So we're going to be going through and doing tier lists where we talk about the different eras of the Krakoan age and basically rank the comics that are from that age, as I read a lot of them. And the ones that I didn't read every single issue, I would still pop in now and then to check out the series. And I also split my comics with Uptown Duck. We actually read half each, and then we would, when there were events, it was so fun because we would read the events together and we would discuss the little bits from both sides of the world. So I have a lot of knowledge on these, and I'm very excited to be diving into this tier list with you. If you also want to see more tier lists like this for different comics, comic events, please let me know what you would like to see me do a tier list on down in the comments below. Also, I want to know, what was your favorite part of the Krakoan era for X-Men? What was your favorite book or your favorite character or your favorite story? Just tell me something that you loved about it down in the comments. All right, let's start with one of the first ones. Let's start with House of X. So House of X, I would say, is the comic that most blew my mind. I started out reading this series and I did not really know what to expect, new era, and it just set the status quo, I feel like, for the quality that we ended up getting with the Krakoa era. It just blew my mind what they were doing and how they were changing up what the X-Men have been doing for a while. I mean, the school was gone. We're on an island now. We have our own nation. Big things happening in House of X. So for me, obviously, House of X was massive. So I would put this one up at the S tier. I really liked it. Next, let's talk about another comic that I also love, but that is a bit different in the sense that it is kind of weird. It's kind of weird. This is the one that I think broke a lot of people's minds because the timeline goes all over the place. It questions everything you know. This was the book that I think made a lot of people go, wait a minute, is this even canon? And yes, it is canon. And what I love is that we were able to actually bring something new to the timeline without really retconning. I guess this comic has a little bit of retconning in it, but it's to make sense of everything that would come after. And the more you go into the story of the Krakoan era, the more this comic makes sense. So if you do pick this one up and you're reading it for the first time, just know that it's totally normal to feel kind of overwhelmed. I think that's totally normal. I have the hardcover of House Powers of X, and it is phenomenal. It is a great read, and I love it dearly. Also, the art is just phenomenal, but it is a weird one. It is a weird one. So I will say for Powers of X, I'll put it a little bit below just because I don't think it's the most approachable read, but it is stellar, and the more you read, the more it makes sense. Okay, let's talk about X-Men. This is Hickman's X-Men. Later we would get Dugan's X-Men, and I definitely prefer, I think, Hickman's to Dugan's, even though there was stuff that I did like from Dugan's X-Men, but this one, for me, is a top tier comic. If you haven't read this X-Men comic, pause this video right now. Don't close it, because the higher my watch time is, the longer you watch for, the better it is for me. But pause it for a second, go read this entire series, and then come back, because it's really freaking good. I think I'm gonna put Hickman's X-Men, which also just did a lot of fun things with characters, also at S tier. It was a banger. Still is. Even today, I love it. Okay, now let's talk about some of the giant sizes. There were so many giant sizes, and there were varying degrees of success, varying degrees of these being memorable. There is one I actually had to look up because I kind of forgot what the story was, but this one is not one of those. This is giant-size Fantomex. And giant-size Fantomex was weird, but I really liked it. It actually made me want to go back and read more Fantomex stuff because I just thought it was cool how we get into some of the lore for the character. There was the AIM guy, Ned. He was a delight, so I also loved him. And I like how some things weave together in this story as well. It kind of has some bigger implications beyond just the giant-size X-Men Fantomex. It's not completely self-contained, which I actually liked because I was someone, of course, that was reading everything. So for me, I think I'm going to put Fantomex at A tier. It was really, really good. Next up, we have giant-size X-Men Magneto. And this is a comic that I did have to look up and remind myself what the heck happened in Magneto. So Magneto's kind of a team up with Namor, and Magneto's basically helping out Emma Frost with a thing. I remember this one being very fun and very charming at the time. Unfortunately, it was not super memorable, but having gone back and revisited it, I would recommend it just for a fun little read. I think this one for me, I think I'll put it at, I don't know, do I do B or C? I mean, it was still really good. It was still really fun, even though I didn't remember it that much. I'm still going to give it a B, I think. It was a good time. All right, giant-size X-Men Nightcrawler is another weird one. It is a Nightcrawler, but there's also some iBoy stuff in this. This is kind of a weird comic. It is memorable, though. I do remember it because it was weird. Honestly, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, X-Men 90s vibes. I like X-Men 90s, though, so that's a good thing. You know, I don't know if I can do this, but it's my tier list, so I can kind of do whatever I want. I think I am going to bump Magneto down to C, just because I kind of want to put Nightcrawler at B, and I think it was better than Magneto. So, we'll do that. Moving right along, we have giant-size X-Men Storm, which also is a pretty good time and connects with some other stuff. And I mean, Storm is obviously a character that I think we all love. I don't know anyone that doesn't like Storm. Storm's great. I think this one for me, I'm also going to put it a B tier. It was a good time, but it's not my favorite one of the giant size. My favorite giant size is the next one in terms of this era, in terms of the Dawn of X age, and that would be giant size X-Men Jean Grey Emma Frost, a story that has no words. It's all art. The art is beautiful. The colors from Wilson are gorgeous, and even the writing, even though I know it might seem weird to say because there's no text really in this book, but there's still a story. There's still writing that's in here, and Dodderman's art mixed with Matt Wilson's colors mixed with the storytelling from Hickman. This is a banger of a comic. Possibly one of my favorite X-Men comics of all time. So this one has to be S tier for me. Next up we have one that is so near and dear to my heart. It's Marauders. I loved Marauders so freaking much. If you haven't read the Marauders series by Dugan, it is a simple delight. It is so lovely. It is following the story of Kate Pryde, who call me Kate, formerly known as Kitty Pryde, and she can't get onto the island because of her powers, seemingly. There's a little bit of a murder mystery in it. It just keeps you hooked. I love the way that the characters are written in this. I love the way they interact with each other. I love the camaraderie of the Marauders. I love that we took the Marauders' name back from the villains and turned it into a hero team name. I love that they're a pirate crew. Like, I love everything about this book. This book for me is definitely an A tier. A tier book for sure. Next up, we have Excalibur. And Excalibur, I think, had some interesting elements to it, but overall, it wasn't my favorite of the books. And it kind of was a little, I want to say like a little wayward. Like sometimes it felt like all over the place, maybe. There's just a lot going on. And I don't know, maybe that fits for Excalibur. I haven't read a ton of Excalibur. I've only read a bit of Excalibur outside of this series. So for me, I would say, I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was great either. I guess that puts Excalibur at a C for me. It was okay. It was good. for what it was. Next up, we have New Mutants, which I think New Mutants started off promising, had a little bit of a weird part in the middle, kind of came back around, and it kind of evolves as it goes on. The cool thing about New Mutants that I like is the idea of us focusing on the New Mutants that are on Krakoa, and also the original New Mutants who are often off in space doing things. I think that's a really cool concept for the book. But where does it live for me? I think I'll put it at a B. New Mutants is pretty good. Then we have X-Force, and X-Force is such a weird book, man. X-Force is weird. Also with Wolverine. I think I'm just gonna put both of these up at the same time because, let's be honest, with Percy writing these, they kind of became the same book. Sometimes Wolverine's story would be more about X-Force stuff. Sometimes X-Force would become the Wolverine book for a bit. And I think it's just because they're both being written by Percy, and obviously Wolverine's also on X-Force. So there is some interweaving there. But I always thought that was weird, where sometimes, I mean, Uptown Duck was reading X-Force, and who is also my editor, by the way. Thank you for editing this. Everyone say, hi, Uptown Duck, in the comments if you made it to this point of the video. He would be reading X-Force, and he would be like, it's just about Wolverine right now. And then I'd be reading Wolverine, and I'd be like, huh, mine is like delving into some X-Force stuff. So it would feel at times that we switched comics, even though we were both reading different ones, which isn't the worst thing, but also is just kind of weird. And you know, to be fair, I really liked the story in Wolverine. I especially liked how it started off with Dracula. I was just really excited to see how that would come back around. But the thing that disappointed me the most, it never really did in any way that felt meaningful. And then near the end, it kind of just became all about, you know, Sabretooth and Wolverine, and it was a time. It was a time. Not my favorite Wolverine stories of all time necessarily, but definitely ones that I hold in high regard. And this comic was overall a pretty good time. Also, the art. A lot of the art is Kubrick on this book, and stunning, stunning art. So for both of those, I'm going to say let's put X-Force at C. At C, well, okay, maybe I'll put X-Force at B, and I'll put Wolverine at B. I think they're both all right. I don't know. Some people are going to have opinions on what happened to Beast, I'm sure, with X-Force, and even kind of how we weirdly retconned that for the new era that is now coming to a close for X-Men from the ashes. But I think it's a cool idea. I think there's a lot of cool ideas in here. You know what I mean? Cool ideas. Do they all work? Not all the time. This is hard. This is challenging. I like a lot of these comics a lot, but I don't love all of them a lot because now I got to talk about Fallen Angels. Fallen Angels is my least favorite comic, I would say, of this era. Yeah, it just is, and it's kind of weird. And I think the idea behind what it's doing is cool. I don't know. I honestly, having read a little bit more into the history of Fallen Angels as a series prior to this, I'm more interested in that than I'm interested in what we did with this new version of it. So yeah, mostly disappointing, I guess. I guess this is the only one that would have a bit of a negative vibe to it maybe on the tier list. I don't know. Maybe there'll be something else that comes up, but this one for me was pretty stinky. I'm not going to say F, but I am going to say E. Also, it gave me kind of a weird ship of Laura Kinney, X-23, who would later go on to become Wolverine, and young Cable. Young Cable was flirting with everyone in this era, man. It's a kind of a weird time. And speaking of Cable, Cable is also Dugan with art from Phil Noto, which I love Phil Noto's art. I am a big fan of Phil Noto. And I think that this series is actually really fun. I know a lot of people do not like Young Cable, but I would say if you are a naysayer out there, if you do not like Young Cable, read this series. Give it a read. Give it a couple issues to see how you feel, because I really enjoyed what it did. And, you know, older Cable also comes into it too. So, hey, both Cables are in there. And they got to team up at one point, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoy the family elements of this comic. I enjoy the Summers family kind of all getting to be together. I think it's really sweet to give Jean and Scott that time with their kids. and give them that time actually with their son, because, you know, they were robbed of that time. And yes, I also know that Cable is Madeline's son, biologically Madeline's son, but Jean has all the memories of Madeline, so she is also his mom. And, you know, Madeline has hurt. We're going to talk about Maddie more in this era. And we're going to talk about her a little bit in Hellions. But for Cable, I am going to give this one an A, because I liked it that dang much. It was a fun freaking time. It's one of my top comics, and I think it's kind of a sleeper hit from this era. I don't think as many people were reading it, and you should have been, because it's great. Next up, we have Hellions. Hellions. Zeb Wells. And I know Zeb Wells is maybe not as on top of the world now. I think that Hellions is honestly the reason that Wells probably got to do some Spider-Man stuff, because Hellions is one of my favorite comics of all time. It is so good. It was another one that, when it was announced, I was one of the few people that was excited about this comic. I thought the cast of characters was so bizarre and so interesting. I mean, we got Havoc, we got Wild Child, we have Nanny, Orphan Maker, Sinister, now going by the name of Grey Crow. I won't say the former name because it's awful. We've got Empath, and of course we have Psylocke, Quan and Psylocke, and it's just a team of misfits. That the whole concept of this book is Sinister petitioning the Quiet Council to have his own team, because these are all people that just don't really fit into the world of Krakoa, and he wants to help them find a place. Of course, Sinister has his own objectives, and I love the dysfunction of this team. I love how they become kind of this found family. I love that this comic ends so heartbreakingly. Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite comics of all time. I love it so much. So it'll probably be no surprise to you, no surprise, that I am going to put Hellions all the way at the freaking top, man. It is S tier if ever I've seen it. Next up, I'm going to go with Empyre, which is a tie-in to the Empyre event. Also something I was super into at the time. I read, I think, all of Empyre, or close to all of Empyre when it happened. I actually really liked that event. I thought it was really good. The whole idea of the Skrull and the Kree ending their war, developing the alliance together, going up against the Kotati. I think all of that stuff was cool. And Empyre was such a frustrating comic for me to collect, because they had Magic on the cover, then they had Darkchild on the cover, and because of Darkchild, I couldn't get later issues of this. I don't even know if I actually completed my series. I might be missing still, because they were sold out, because everyone was coming in to buy the covers. And I'm like, hey, I'm actually reading this book. Stop that. It's a fun time. It's a story about some of the X-Men's involvement and dealing with mutant zombies kind of coming back to life, and fighting the Kotati. And we also have one of my favorite villains of this era that appear in it, villain teams, Horticulture here, and they actually have to team up with the mutants in this comic, work together, even though they're usually villains. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff in this, and we also call back to some obscure characters, which I liked. So, I mean, wow, I actually just sold myself on this a lot. Is this weird? I'm gonna put it at an A tier. That might be a weird choice, but I actually really liked the Empyre comic. I'm realizing as I talk about it more, and I really liked Empyre, so there it is. Speaking of sort of fun, weird tie-in vibes, there's also an X-Men Fantastic Four comic, which is all about the fight for Franklin, kind of, between the mutants being like, he belongs on Krakoa because he's a mutant, and the Fantastic Four being like, no, he belongs with us because he's our family. And I guess in retrospect, this comic is kind of sad to think about, because now Franklin is no longer a mutant. But I'm just going to keep that out of it, because that all happens kind of after, and it's not really part of this comic. And ultimately, I think I'll still give this a B tier. I thought it was a really fun time. I really liked this comic and the interactions in between characters. The Fantastic Four versus X-Men is always a fun, fight to see. And there's some pretty messed up stuff from Xavier's side in this as well. There's some pretty wild things that happen in this comic. Oh, and this is a treat. Finally, let's end with the event of this era as well. And there were, of course, the main series, and then there were tons of tie-ins. I loved this event. We're talking about X-Men 10 of Swords. And 10 of Swords, or I mean, it's X of Swords, but the X is supposed to represent a 10. If you read the event, you'll know why. And it's all kind of also connected to the tarot. And oh, I loved this event. This event was so good because it was like a classic event where you kind of need to read everything to get all of the elements of every little part of the story. So there's the main book, but really this one is made by the tie-ins. So if you didn't read the tie-ins, probably not as good for you, but just read the whole event. It's fantastic. Of course, it's really only great if you're reading everything, but I was. So for me, it was really fun. I know that's not everybody's favorite way to do events, but I liked it. A lot of people also didn't like this event because it was kind of goofy. Some of these fights were actual fights that we had between Arakko champions and Krakoa champions. And some of these fights were not really fights. Like, there's even a drinking contest that happens between two people on the same side from Krakoa. Wolverine versus Storm drinking contest. There was like a runway show. There was a whole thing where I think we had to like throw rocks. There were weird contests that happened throughout. There was a wedding. Doug ended up getting married to Bay of the Blood Moon from Arakko. That was a whole thing. So it was a weird time. But there were also some real fights that happened in this, and those fights were also epic. And I liked that this was goofy. I think if you're doing a contest that's run by Saturnine, it should be goofy, to be honest. So where am I going to put this? I think I'm going to put it at A. I really liked 10 of Swords. I had a lot of fun with it. And I hope you did too. And if you didn't, you can still get it in probably a collected form. Is there a hardcover for this? Yes, there is a hardcover for this. It's currently unavailable. No, I missed my time to get it. No. I'm sure it wasn't the most popular one. You can still get it digitally, though. Digitally, it still exists. 720 pages, $39.99 Canadian to buy on Amazon.ca if you want to get a digital version of it. But you could also read it in Marvel Unlimited through the issues. They probably have a reading guide for it. And technically, I own like all of the floppies, all of the single issues. So do I need to own the hardcover? Yes, because I like owning the hardcovers of things that I really enjoy. It's nice to have them, and it's nice to look at the art in a book. Anyways, that's all I have for this one. This is our tier list, y'all. This is our finished tier list. Look at it in all of its majesty. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We got a lot of S tiers. We got 4 S tiers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 A tiers, 6 B tiers, 2 C tiers, and only 1 E tier. Everything, I think, from Dawn of X overall was peak. The only reason that I even have things in C is just because I'm trying to scale. I'm doing power scaling on how powerful these comics felt to me, the reader. So let me know your thoughts on the Dawn of X era down in the comments below. Were you reading at the time? Did you go back and read it after? And what is your favorite book from this era? And what is your favorite book from the Krakoan Age in general? Probably it's from Dawn of X, but maybe it's not. Maybe you're a Reign, or maybe you're a Fall. I'm not sure where the Fall of X fans at. Maybe there's a few people. That's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for watching this tier list. And like I said, do let me know what other tier lists you'd like to see from me down in the comments below. Comics or otherwise. I'll see you down there. And until next time, friends, stay nerdy. Bye. And if you like when I talk about superheroes, there's a game right now that you need to check out that's not Marvel, it's not DC, it's Dispatch. You can check out my video on that here